The 2011 conference for me has been very important. Before I came to the conference, I found out that the largest employer in my town, who happens to be my landlord, it's a large medical center, the hospital, over 5,000 employees, is going mandatory CVS, mandatory mail order. And I had just signed another 5-year lease in my building, and I was very hopeful about remodeling and growing the pharmacy because we've been doing so well. And it was like a shot in the gut, and I had lost some hope. I was very frustrated and upset, and coming down to the conference and being with other pharmacy owners from across the country, and knowing that I'm not the only pharmacist that's facing these challenges. It's every pharmacy, every independent pharmacy in the country is facing these challenges, and I can't tell you how important the panel discussion was that Dan put on with these experts that just blew my mind with how creating an interdependency between pharmacy owners is the next logical step to the challenge we're faced from this, the hawk, the PBM that's just destroying our businesses. And I have a renewed hope. You know, it was the panel discussion, it was knowing which angles I'm going to take in my business to compete with the change that mandatory mail order is not going to shut me down. I'm not going to be out of business. I'm going to compete with them, and it's renewed by networking with other pharmacy owners at dinner, at the break, just at the table, you know, finding out what they're doing, new marketing ideas, what they're doing to compete with the chains. And I think every independent pharmacy, no matter where you are, mandatory mail order, mandatory steering to one particular chain is on everybody. It's the first thing on your mind, and the solutions are here. I've always wondered, why is that guy so successful? What is that pharmacy owner? What is he doing? Where does he get these ideas? How does he implement this? And last year was my first attendance at the conference, and well, I had been exposed to PDS, and I saw the price tag, and I said, no way, I can't do that. It's not worth it. But then I come to the conference, and I see those guys that I saw in Las Vegas at the wholesaler trade show, and that guy is a member of PDS, and he's been a member for 5 years. And I'm like, this is where the guy is. This is where he's getting it. This is why his pharmacy is so successful. And to be honest with you, I don't want to be talking about this right now, because I don't want the guy down the street to find out about this. The other, you know, I know there's this interdependency. Independent pharmacies should unite, but at the same time, I don't want. There's a couple pharmacies I don't want to find out about this, because this is where it's at. I don't want them to know why I'm growing, why my pharmacy is. You know, I went from 2 full-time employees to 6 full-time employees in 2 years. I don't want them to know that, because the answer is actually, it's here, it's PDS. I was a good pharmacist, but I was not a business person. I didn't know much about, I mean, I knew the inner workings of a pharmacy, but my business skills were not developed. They were not functioning at a high rate. And I would see other business owners, other pharmacy owners, and think that, well, they must have an MBA. They must have been you know, before they were a pharmacist, they worked in some other type of business where they gained all these skills. And that's not the case. I guess I think if I can do this, anybody can do this. When I first started, I was described as a college kid who owns a pharmacy. You know, I didn't have any, I had no organization, I had no direction. I just showed up at work, and I was a good pharmacist. People liked me, and they kept bringing prescriptions in, but I did not have the knowledge, the business skills to take my passion for pharmacy, to take my passion for independent pharmacy and take it to the next level. Working with a business coach and an implementation specialist, they have honed my business skills. I have discussed with them what my needs are, and they have met my needs. And I put my thoughts and my plans into action, and it's transformed my life. It's transformed the pharmacy. And the most important thing is I don't own a job anymore. I went from working 50 hours a week behind the counter counting pills, which I love to do, but you know, I'm in the pharmacy grinding away 10 hours a day, and then I got to sign some type of insurance problem. I have an audit. I have to, and then you know, I'm not focused, and things are getting by, and I'm losing money because I'm not sending back my credits and my returns. Just little things like that. Now I've developed a system where I'm in the pharmacy 30 hours a week. I spend another 10 or 20 hours a week, or sometimes 5 hours a week, sometimes no time that week, working on the business instead of in the business. I've become organized. I know what my tasks are. If I don't complete my task that week because my child, I have 4 children. If one of my children are, I just have a 4-month-old. If my child's born, I took a couple weeks from working on the business. I just move those things in my controlling calendar to the next section, and boom, I don't forget about them. They don't get missed. I get them done. When I felt overwhelmed, when I felt the pain of not being organized, of not having an efficient business, I needed a solution. I needed answers. I needed answers to my problems. And it was PDS that gave me those answers. They gave me the hope that if I follow what their methods are, that it could be customized to my store, it could be implemented, and that it would change, and the change has taken place. The first thing I did was talk to the PDS team before I signed up, because I was nervous. I didn't want to make a commitment. I thought, again, I was only about 2.5 years into owning my pharmacy. You're looking at the monthly fees, and I'm like, you could pay a mortgage with that kind of money. And I first had a consultation with a PDS member, and I discussed my concerns, and they set my mind at ease. They talked about what they were going to do for me. They gave me a guarantee if I didn't like what they were going to do, I could opt out after the first. At this point, I don't remember if it was 30 days or 60 days. That if I didn't like what I was getting, if I didn't find the value, that I didn't have to commit. So that's what it took. I said, okay, I'll try it out, and right off the bat, I was getting value out of it. The message board, having other pharmacy owners from across the country put information up on there. I mean, something simple. Hey, how's everybody handling the 4th of July? I never knew. I would change my holiday hours all the time. My staff would be upset. My customers would be upset. I didn't have a set way to do it. Throw up on the message board and get 20 responses from across the country how everybody's changing their holiday hours or their 4th of July hours. So right off the bat, I was like that. I got answers, because I couldn't make those. I wasn't making those good decisions. When I got into it and it started working, and when it worked, what I felt was freedom. I felt freedom from my business. I felt freedom from just the grind, from the fear of I'm not doing this right, to knowing that this is what I'm doing. I have a direction. I am the leader. I am the owner of this pharmacy. I felt freedom. I felt freedom, and I had a direction. I felt confident. Where before I was just confused, I was overwhelmed, I was lost, I started to do things that I love to do, which usually revolves around cooking, but what I like to cook most is wild game, so I like to hunt. So I found myself in my tree stand more during archery season this year than ever. I cook dinner for my family at least 3 days a week, like I'm talking like a dinner, not just something you throw in. Like I make a meal. And because I didn't know what to do. Honestly, there was time when I first found this freedom, when I first got control of my business, I was a little bit lost until I was like, wait, I have hobbies. There's things I enjoy besides work. And so those are it. I started, and probably one of the more important things was I started to work on myself, and I had always been, I started to exercise. I lost 50 pounds by exercising, because I was always too busy being busy to exercise. And now, I work out like 4 or 5 days a week. I lost 50, well, not maybe even a little more now. I have myself back, and I do what I love to do. I found like hobbies, and I don't know, they were always there. I wouldn't get a chance to do them, but at the same time, my business has never been more successful. That's the thing, is I'm working less in the pharmacy, but I'm cooking meals for my family. I'm in my tree stand. I'm working out, and it's brings a tear to my eye.